Cassian Andor. He's a rebel spy, super bad friend. Give you a hug at the very end. Make 10 men feel like 100. He's the rogue one for me. Kick you ass up, he's not in the show. Is he a fish or a thief? He's Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor.
With MakingStarWars.net.
Hey, YouTube.com. I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and today we're talking about Star Wars. The Andor actor Denise Ga. Is it Go or Ga? I don't know. I don't know anybody's names anymore. It's all crazy to me. But we're going to be talking about her role in Andor for a bit and what it means. And I gotta admit that I think a lot of people are going to get very triggered by it. But I think that they should probably get a little bit of perspective about what's actually going on in Star Wars Andor and the Rogue One sort of side of things. Because what you have in Andor is you have a character who is on a path to power, who's a lady in that universe, in the Empire. Okay, the Empire is not fair. The Empire is not going to treat people in a good way. They don't give a shit. They are pretty much they want to make aristocrats. They want to be aristocrats. And you've already seen this story play out. It just had a dick before. And when it had a dick, it was not, it's not SJW kind of woke stuff or whatever. If you want to call it that, I mean, you can. If you want to be that guy, go ahead. But I know, and I know you're joking, AJ, but it's like what you had in Rogue One was you had Krennic. Krennic's not from the same background as Tarkin. Krennic's not he wasn't some kind of, he didn't go to the best college. He had to work to get where he was. And we see what they do to him continually in that story. They keep stealing his work. They are used to extracting all of their capital off the backs of the working class. And Krennic is highly ambitious, really ambitious person who works his ass off for evil. Let's not forget they are in an evil system. And, you can kind of look at it from a couple of different ways. Krennic is straight up a villain and was a psychopath who was power hungry. And this Deidre character is probably the same type of person. Or you can look at it as these were very ambitious people in a different system might have actually done something really good. That's always the whole, is it the environment or is it the person kind of conversation that you could have there? But let's look at the actual article, because like I said, I think it's important to frame this in the context of Rogue One, of what we've already seen from Krennic. I think that in a lot of ways, this is telling the Krennic story again, and it's just changing the politics a little bit. But if you have a little bit of empathy in your heart, it probably ends up being a similar story, unless this article has gone off the rails and the actor is seeing more than is actually there, which is possible. I mean, the series might not do this, might not actually go there, but we will see. Andor actor Denise Ga on how her character arc addresses gender politics in the age of Palpatine. Excuse me. Oh, that was disgusting. Exclusive. Denise Ga talks playing an Imperial in Andor. Andor might be named after Diego Luna's future rebel casting Andor. But getting to grips with what our heroes are rebelling against is also a key component, showrunner Tony Gilroy reveals. We have a very, very deep dive into the Imperial side of the story. He tells Total Film in the latest issue. So once again, it goes to show that I don't think you can, in the narrative that they are setting up, I don't think you can tell that story without really getting into what the opposite end of that spectrum is. If you don't have who the bad guys are and what they're doing and what that system is, it starts to ring hollow. So I think what Gilroy is doing is I think he's going to show the human side of both sides of this fight. So anyways, and happily, we're not talking about another Sith sausage party. I'm definitely on the dark side, grins actor Denise Gah, nodding to her brief but fearsome appearance in the Andor trailer as Imperial Officer Deidre Miro. Excited to be joining Star Wars' growing roster of female baddies, the two-time Olivier winner describes a shot where she dons her Imperial issue jacket. As the camera pulls around, you see it's a woman in that outfit, and that felt great. And it's kind of funny in a weird way that, this quote exists, because there were times, even Bespin, I don't mean like even Bespin, I mean like, but Bespin Bolton mentioned it to me too. It's like people were like, oh, there's people in white outfits. I think it's Krennic, but I'm not sure. And and then I know Bespin had some reports on some stuff out there. Someone's like, I think it might be Krennic. I don't know if he reported that or not. I'm not sure if he did in the end, but it was her. And so you could definitely see cultural assumptions at play there to some extent. Gao's work, is it Gao? Lady Gauga arcs will address gender politics in the Age of Palpatine in a timely fashion. As a woman in that world, for her to advance in any way, she has to be like 10 times better than anyone else in that room. And that felt really relevant to everything we're going through right now. In the United States, I mean, it's kind of hard to act like there's not issues going on right now. You have to have a baby if you don't want to. As such, she believes viewers will be on Deidre's side to a point anyway. It's clever things to do to show you how hard she has to work, reckons Gah. It kind of brings you in to feel cheerleadery for her, and then you'll be like, she's a psycho, so be careful supporting her. Yeah, but that's good. I mean, ultimately, that's good, because if you could, relate to the villain, if you could feel something for the villain, then it's going to be more effective when they fail or they die or they defect or whatever it happens to be. So to me, that's a very good sign. I mean, that's the thing about like Darth Vader in the end, is what potential he had, who he was supposed to be, and it makes it more tragic. As to the dynamic between Deidre and Andor, all the spoiler mindful Gah can say is she's not particularly fond of him. She's not the only one. Another of Andor's principal foes is Cyril Karn, a blue uniformed inspector on Ferrix who, in the words of actor Kyle Soller, is obsessed with Andor. It's because he's a beautiful man. Cyril is a very intense, determined character who believes he's destined for great things, says Soller, who appears a lot more chilled than his alter ego. One of those great things is upholding justice at all costs. Another is squashing any signs of dissent or rebellious activity, which obviously relates to our hero. So Andor launches on Disney Plus 3 episodes September 21st. And then there's that Total Film magazine, which is on sale Thursday, August 18th. So yeah, I mean, I think it's potentially could be a pretty interesting story. At the end of the day, the question is that stuff actually going to be there though? I know it sounds like it will be. So I am hopeful that that it will delve into that side of things in some way, but you never know. It may not. It may be, we've seen these kind of it's kind of rhetoric, and then when you get to the story, it's very empty or not really there. Speaking of SJWs, where's Rob? Rob said his computer's not cool or something. Like, I'll come back when my computer is cooler, I think he said. Or I think he said he needed coolant for his computer. Yeah, that's what he said. His computer needs coolant. So I think he said he ordered some. So probably be back tomorrow. If not, we'll see him Monday, I would imagine. Roland says, I'm just really glad Diego got to come back and continue as one of his favorite characters. He seems happy to be back. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think we get really into that idea. Like, oh man, it's really great that like Ewan's happy to be back and that Diego's happy to be back, because we've grown up with Harrison Ford being like, I'm so bored. I'm so bored doing this stuff. But yet it keeps coming back. So I'm glad though. I think that if the character has a lot of potential to be sort of our everyman kind of avatar for dealing with the Imperial brass and all that kind of stuff, which kind of brings me to something that was on my mind today. You know who they should have brought back was Terrence Stamp as Valorum. Like, wouldn't Valorum be interesting at this point in Star Wars history? I mean, he was Chancellor of the Galaxy. I think the last time we saw him, I think, was when we had the arc about Sifo-Dyas getting killed by the Pikes. I think we saw him just for a second. He's just kind of like living on Coruscant. Part of me, I don't know, is Palpatine so petty that he would, have him executed afterwards just to continue the, winning kind of stuff? I know a certain guy who was in power in the United States who was like that, and I think Palpatine's kind of like that. And as the truth says, Valorum is underrated. He was super disappointed. Terrence Stamp was. He took the role because he wanted to work with Natalie Portman, and then when he finally got to show up to work with Natalie Portman, they gave her the day off, and he was working with her double. And you can see that they just don't care. He just doesn't care when he's doing like some like those days shoes. He's like, yes, I'm okay. Like the way he acts is just like blah 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 blah. And so I can see how it left a bad taste in his mouth. But a Tony Gilroy Star Wars project with Terrence Stamp would be good. So man, I would love to see Valorum come back, or to see Valorum come into season 2. It's that time of day. Every time at this time of day, that fire truck drives by with its sirens on, I'm starting to think it's just going to lunch. Gotta say. I mean, unless if every day at like 11:13. But anyways, Valorum helping to found the rebellion. Yeah, just like being a part of the machinations of the early empire would be interesting. And Roland said, I thought that was him at first in the Mon Mothma clip. And then, Valorum was in Clone Wars. Was he not retired at that point? Well, yeah, but I think once you enter into a police state and you're an enemy of the Chancellor turned Empire or Emperor, I'm not sure if you get to retire. Maybe, who knows? But I tried to see if he was killed in canon or anything, like really briefly, and I don't think so. Just think he hasn't been touched. So it kind of made me hope maybe we would get more, but we will see. But I like that in Gilroy's versions of the Empire, he is sort of showing, like with Krennic, working class person. With Guy, he's showing a woman who's trying to, climb up through those ranks, if you will. And as we saw, when you get to that Death Star sequence, they all look like they were all white men by that point, and they were probably all spoiled brats. when you get down to it. Like Mahdi seems like a bitch, a little prince, and Tarkin, he thinks he's an aristocrat. And we can only make assumptions about everybody else at that table, but it's probably pretty much there. I mean, Yularen seemed cool, but who knows what's up with that guy in the end. So I'm interested in seeing how those stories unfold and what they how they play out, and I hope it's meaningful when it does, because I'm not somebody who's like I don't really believe in like check boxing things like, oh, strong female lead, check box, that's good, we did it. It's like if the story doesn't connect, if the story's not legitimate and stuff like that, it won't matter. But also, I have all of the faith in Tony Gilroy and in his potential and power to like handle those stories correctly. So Chris says, I thought Valorum was killed in a terrorist attack after the Battle of Jabim. I mean, was he? I don't know. If somebody wants to like check it out, let me know. Well, to be fair, Palpatine is a known to be racist species. Yeah, that's the thing though, is they really did move away from racism. I don't, when you get with Palpatine, like the old EU stuff, he was a specious racist. But when you get to the prequels, who are Palpatine's friends? Mas Amida. I don't know. I call her White Bald Chick. I don't remember what her name is off the top of my head. And you know what I'm saying? So it's not, his apprentice was Darth Maul. So I don't think that it necessarily plays into the modern Star Wars lore post prequels, especially. Sly Moore, thank you, Roland. That's White Bald Chick. I appreciate that. So I think they moved away from that, and maybe in a weird way, it was from a more positive place, in the sense that when you get down to it, like generally speaking, racism is very, very stupid, and not to say there's ever a smart way of using it, but it is used to divide and conquer. And in the Star Wars galaxy, I don't know if that would actually be a true, like, it would be an effective method when you have billions of different alien races and stuff like that, like human superiority, if you will. I don't think it would fly. I think that they would be outnumbered. So I don't think that would even make sense for Palpatine to go that way. But you do see like kind of like this like cronyism. You do see like, all kinds of unfairness in those kinds of corrupt systems. So it would make sense that if you have like a human, it's Palpatine, he's going to start, helping people he knows more. And then we would just see the Empire kind of form up that way, whether on purpose or an accident. But the Star Wars Leaks comments on this article are hilarious. I have not read them, but Star Wars Leaks board itself is insane. It was all I can say, banned linking to me on their boards because of false accusations that I cleared up. And then after I cleared them up, went and just moved the goalpost. Oh, you did this other thing. You know what the other thing I did was? You know what the two things are? Friend of mine sent them an image of the Star Wars movies that it said Legends on the top. And he did it as a joke. Told me, I didn't care. I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. I was like, you're an idiot. I was like busy. And then they ran it as a news story because they didn't do their due diligence. They didn't triple source anything. They single sourced it from that, and then acted like I was, a big asshole for not taking my time out to go and tell them, hey, you're getting pranked. When it was obviously you were getting pranked. And then this one other time, they were putting photos of me and my kids at Disneyland on their message board. And then they deleted all of those photos and just kept the one of me where you can't see my kids. So it looks like I'm riding in a rocket ship by myself. And they were like, and then so I went on there and they were talking, they would allow shit talking of me there on the Newsnet boards. And I had a couple glasses of wine, I can't lie. And I was joking. And then I was, you know, I raged a little bit on them. But so that's why, guys. That's why they don't link to me. Instead, they just steal my content and they use that as a justification. It's pretty good because Star Wars Leaks is a Star Wars Newsnet fucking shill site when you get down to it. If you pay attention, you'll start to see like articles get deleted and then like the Star Wars Newsnet version gets preference. And it's just like, honestly, if you like their shit, like I've always said, we're not even in competition. Like we don't do the same thing. I'm not like, oh, hey, everybody. Oh, gosh, what's going on here in the Disney universe? Oh, boy, Solo 2. Oh, God, guys. Like, fuck all that noise. That's not me. I never done that shit. We don't do the same shit. But yet, we have to have competition. So anyways, yeah. So, but once again, I am the one who's banned, and yet their very culture itself on those boards is SLSJW this and that. It's like you're fucking hypocrites is what you are. You're hypocrites and you're fucking thieves. Fuck off. Suck my dick, Star Wars. Leaks. Roland. Yeah, and the new her name is Slime Moore. Yeah, he apparently did die in a terrorist attack. Fucking Valorum, rest in peace. Man, I guess he must have burned Terrence Stamp must have really burned the bridges with Lucasfilm. I don't know if it's canon or Eve. Oh well, that's the important part. You got to see because I don't think it's canon. I think he did die like that in the old books and stuff. But you know, and producer Cadence, when are we gonna release some stuff, man? Let's do this. Come on, we got to make some music. Roland says soar. Star Wars Reddit is a dumpster fire. Yeah, it really can be. It really can be. But you know, hey, that's capitalism. It's all competition, you know? I mean, that's what ultimately what this is about is certain people think we're going to make more ad money if they only come here, but in reality, actually no, because what you had to do in the end was you had to run articles like exclusive Anchorhead is in Kenobi, something else like talking about for months. And so actually you're losing, everybody's losing, and you're losing because of a person who was like, oh my God, I sent Jason Ward photos. Buy my fisting videos. Who wants my fisting videos? That's literally what happened. That is fucking what happened. Fuck those guys. Roland says, yeah, I don't believe in canon, but I have no clue. I don't believe it's canon. Yeah, I think that might be the old story. So yeah, it is what it is. Oh yeah, there was a Colin Chavaro, old man Colin, as we call him around here. Article from the Direct. A site who cites Making Star Wars in this show. Appreciate it, the Direct. Even if the Direct hates my fucking guts, it is what you should do. Like when that one guy from Den of Nerds, hey, I always cite Jason. Other people do this. I don't care, man. You're supposed to do the right thing. You're not supposed to get your dick sucked for doing the right thing. Well, hopefully you do, but you see what I'm saying. Star Wars Episode 9 director addresses potential return after firing. And right here we have Colin Chavaro. Look at him looking at those laser beam reflections in his glasses. So, wait, that's from The Force Awakens up there on the right, isn't it? The rise of Skywalker is a touchy subject for many. The conclusion to the Skywalker saga has been one of the biggest disappointments for fans in pop culture in quite some time. Hard to disagree with that. I wish it wasn't true. Many audiences across the entire world were underwhelmed, and that feeling came across in the various online conversations which were going on at full speed upon release. I would say upon release, I was a little bit more jazzed about it than I was in the big picture. Still pretty film, still fun, but it just could have been better. In a different timeline, however, fans got another version of the film, one directed by Jurassic World's Colin Chavaro. While all the details aren't fully known, bits and pieces of storylines that could have made their way over the last that right there is actually incorrect. The first script leaked, I detailed what was in the second script very, very clearly on the site, so it's all out there. Things like an alternate version of the race story visiting Coruscant and an intense battle between Kylo and Rey, a unique throne room, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so we know the whole thing. So maybe this author doesn't know or just wanted to simplify. So they asked the question, could Colin Chavaro return? And looking at John Boyga's face right here, I'm going to say no. In a recent interview with comicbook.com, Jurassic World Dominion director Colin Chavaro was asked if he would ever return to the Star Wars after having been let go of Episode 9 when it was still in development. Chavaro noted he doesn't think he would because he spent 8 or 9 years making new versions of things we love when we were kids, and to be able to step out of that for a little bit would be exciting for him. Once again, though, that has to do with what's next. So I think this is sort of a sidestep in a way. I don't know, not because of Star Wars, but because I feel like I spent 8 or 9 years making new versions of things we love when we were kids in one place or another. There's a lot of pressure on that. It casts a shadow over everything else that you want to do. In the case of making a small film after Jurassic World, I was the director of Star Wars when I made it. I think that to be able to step out of that a little bit and not have everything I do be in the context of our belief system is interesting to me. So he said nothing whatsoever. Personally, I gotta go with kind of what the word on the street here on that one was, and it's that I don't think he meshed with Lucasfilm culture very well. And I mean, as we can see, he's done a few of those Jurassic World movies. He's clearly gets along with Frank Marshall to such a degree that they keep asking him to come back, which is Kathleen Kennedy's husband. So it's not like he's like they hate him, but it did sound like working at Lucasfilm. I heard stories that might not be true, but most of the stories I hear are usually true. And it was basically like in his script, for instance, like people would get really excited about Mortis from the Clone Wars being there, but the way that happened was he just had an idea and said what was like that, and then I'm guessing they would go to like Pablo Hidalgo, Leland Chi, or somebody, and then it would be like, oh, you have to make that Mortis. That would be Mortis. Okay, plugs it in. So there was like a lot of plug and play concepts that went into his scripts that fans see and get very excited, but I don't know if it would have had any depth to it. A Chavaro return is unlikely. It's completely understandable to have desired something other than Rise of Skywalker that Lucasfilm gave the world. However, as poorly received as it was, there's no guarantee that Chavaro's version was any better. I am of the opinion that the first draft was better than the second draft. So if you think his draft was a 7, I would say his second draft was a 6, for the record. Also, there was some stuff going around about like Carrie being gone and stuff. The second draft addressed that. What better way to paint that point than by looking at the other 2 films the director made, which were Jurassic World and the most recent sequel, Dominion. Both are sitting at 71% and 30% respectively on Rotten Tomatoes compared to Episode 9's 57%. The results don't seem to be regarded much differently. At the end of the day, Chavaro and Lucasfilm parted ways for a reason. Will the world ever know why? Maybe, maybe not. At the time, I was hearing that they were bringing in the other writer. What was his name? I'm trying to think on his name right now. And they were like, Chavaro, we're going to do this. We want you could still direct the movie, and then that was it. But right now the studio seems to be pretty focused on their Disney Plus series. That's not exactly true. There's a lot of film stuff going on right now. Like the industry is going to be sort of post COVID here, and we're going to have Star Wars movies coming. Just at the moment, they can't seem to get one going, which is kind of where we're at. Jack Thorne, thank you, As It True. I appreciate that. It's really funny when I'm not talking constantly. My recall is great, but when I am talking constantly by myself, a little bit harder. But yeah, Jack Thorne. And I saw a lot of stuff from that Jack Thorne story. Like I said, in the Jack Thorne story, Rey was the daughter of the housekeeper of the Solos. And at the end, they end up in the Solo like mansion. And you could see kind of like it that's why like Kylo in that version, that's why Kylo's like the girl and it's you and all that kind of stuff. And there's elements of that I like, but it was, imagine the throne room from Return of the Jedi, but instead it's a house, in a weird way, super personal. In another way, I don't know, strange. But yeah, and then Johanna says it's crazy how they're struggling to put out a movie. Yeah, I don't, in a weird way, it's like it's respect. I think it's coming from a respectful place. Like, could they just greenlight a movie and start writing the script and have it all and get a movie out? They could. Would it be good? No. And so I think that the struggle has been to get a good movie, to make a quality Star Wars movie. And that is not easy. I mean, how many movies do you see every year that aren't good? And then you are putting it in this box of it just being Star Wars and trying to make it. But I got to be honest with you guys, though. The thing I keep thinking about is I'm happy about the Taika movie being a thing one of these days. But I think it's a mistake for the Taika movie to be the first one if it's really funny. If it's too funny. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But I had a couple of pictures I wanted to throw up on the screen here. There we go. So we have a couple more pictures from Andor, from Total Film, where we can see the Mothma getting out of her little speeder there. Pretty cool looking speeder. Let's guess that's her doorman. Pretty well. She's got some DeLorean windows going on. A little bit of that, and then we just got this like cut out of Mon Mothma looking concerned. And then Luna's Cassian with his adopted mother Marva, played by stage screen actor Fiona Shaw. And right here, she's like, Cassian, get a job. And he's like, Mother, I haven't had a job since I was 6 years old. So, other news from old Steven here. Embracer doesn't say this about the KOTOR remake, but it fit given his reporting. One of the group's AAA projects has transitioned to another studio within the group. This was done to ensure the quality bar is where we need it to be for the title. So that could be good news for the Knights of the Old Republic remake. It's a good sign. It likely means that we are going to have the Knights of the Old Republic remake in other hands. I think that was always the plan. I think that would be a weird one just to throw away and drop, but hopefully it's true. Hopefully, or accurate, I should say. I hate when people say if it's true, it's accurate, because when you say if it's true, it means that they're lying to you. It's all a big lie, but sometimes that's not the case. And then there was this photo from Entertainment Weekly, and it's the Han Solo artwork for the Han Solo Leia marriage, which is, you know, kind of cool. Just sitting on like fucking Halcyon, you know what I mean? So, as the truth says, how long was Jack Thorne on the project? Seemed like it was a month publicly. Laugh out loud. He also wrote loads of drama shows over here that people love. He wrote a whole first draft. He wrote a whole first draft of episode 9 after Chavaro. I don't have the dates on me, but it was after the second. So Chavaro writes draft 1, Carrie dies. Chavaro writes draft 2, which reconfigures Carrie Fisher's death and how they would handle it. And honestly, that stuff was all fine. It was fine. But like I said, the script didn't get better. The dialogue didn't get better. There was still like a lot of like descriptors, like, you know, then he does something really fucking cool. Like it was not as far along as, you know, there was a lot of like implication of what the story would be. And then Jack Thorne comes along, and the Jack Thorne version was a bit classier, I would say, but it was only a first draft. It didn't get very far. And I am under the impression that Jack Thorne had to really conform to like these prereqs that Lucasfilm was setting that were just a huge headache. And it just, you know, I don't think he got a fair shake at doing it or a fair stab at it. So I like Jack Thorne's work. I think he's good. He did Skins, right? I like Skins. I thought Skins was really, really well done for, you know, for its genre and budget and everything. So, yeah. Hey, Nikki, how's it going? Much better than the bikes, than the little scooters. As it says, Embracer also said, we don't expect any material delays for this project. Might not be 2025 after all. That would be good. I mean, yeah, it's like you know, the Kotor remake is something I'm like pretty conflicted about it. Like I want it to come out because I know people love it. I like it. I wouldn't say I love it though. You know, I don't completely. It doesn't hit all the beats for me, you know. But if they up design that thing and, you know, give it some modern gaming systems and you know, RPG systems in it and stuff like that, I'd be down to play it and maybe fall in love with it, you know, for the first time. I never fell in love with Knights of the Old Republic just because, you know, I don't know, just didn't work for me. But yeah, my friend Planet Fitness says my friend who was working on the project said expected to come out late 2023. Although 2023 might be coming from Confidence. That would be, yeah. Yeah, I love Skins. Yeah, Skins, like they like most of those actors that were in there, like the young woman who ended up in Game of Thrones. That was, I mean, I'm glad she got the Game of Thrones gig, but man, she could have been like, I think so big in like as a lead in a Star Wars project or something. And then she ended up being like that cool fat dude's fucking girlfriend, which I was like, hey, maybe I got a chance. But things didn't end up too well for them, I don't think, from memory. But anyways, yeah, but Skins is definitely good, definitely worth checking out. The not the MTV one, obviously. That thing was kind of yeah, Skins, Shameless is good. This is England. I haven't seen This is England. All really popular over here. Would like to see him have another go at a Star Wars film. Yeah. I think somebody of Jack Thorne, I mean, the word that I heard was that it was a good experience for old Jackie boy. So I'm not so sure he would be willing to come back. But then again, maybe, you know, maybe he would if it was something original and he didn't have all of this red tape, you know. But because he's definitely the kind of person who we do want writing Star Wars. I mean, he's the kind of writer who could write something very, very serious, but also could do teen melodrama really, really well. And I think that's like kind of the power of George Lucas there. He was just such a student of genre that I don't know if I would say Attack of the Clones does teen melodrama well, but it does it. So, Roland says, still upsets me Han and Leia never stayed together. You know, I gotta say, I get where you're coming from on that one, but would it ever have worked? You know, in reality, I don't think so. I mean, when you just look at like how their relationship was and stuff like that. But for all the times that the sequel trilogy keeps it real and then doesn't keep it real, was that one of the ones to keep it real on? I think is more of the question. That's where I fall on it, you know. But ultimately, like Han and Leia being like, "Oh, I love you too," and all that shit, it would have just been like a bit, you know, it's not really like a story there other than we want our son back, I think. But yeah, it would have worked. Try the EU love alone. Yeah, I did. It's not that good. If you connected with it, that's cool. I understand that people connect with it. I am usually 101% wrong, which makes you 1% wrong. They made Han Solo a deadbeat dad. No, they didn't. I mean, it's fun. I know what you're saying, but no, they didn't make him a deadbeat dad. And in fact, he's the one who went out there to get him when he was Kylo Ren and got stabbed. And he was the one who also came back as a fucking ghost or something. I still don't know what happened in episode 9. I got that scoop. I'm still confused. The people who made it didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what was going on. But the point being is that no, he's not a deadbeat dad. A deadbeat dad would have just been out there partying. And Kylo Ren is fucking in his 30s. He's not a 7-year-old. You know what I mean? And but I'll send you the invite if you want to come on right now, Nikki, and we could have this conversation if you want to. But no, I mean it's come on, you can't rationalize the unrational. No, I mean he's in his 30s. So we're gonna act like he's a deadbeat dad, but he went off to he's not a deadbeat dad when he sent him to his uncle to become a Jedi. Like once that happened, they didn't have him anymore. Like he went to go do that thing that they do. So I mean, I don't know. Is the Force a deadbeat dad to Anakin? I mean, it's not a deadbeat dad. A deadbeat dad means just abandon your kid and don't support them. That didn't happen. And as we can see with Luke Skywalker and Grogu, he's like you can't have you can't have Daddy Mando and the Jedi way. So it wasn't like he was going to be able to be hanging out with Han Solo constantly anyways, but they undid his arc from the original trilogy. No, you don't undo a completed arc. That's a storytelling fallacy right there. When your arc completes and then you continue the story, it's now a new arc. And I get what you're saying in the sense, but that you're like, oh, he got from A to B. Now he should always be at B, but that's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to happen with his kind of character, because like Han Solo, if you were to take him out of that, then he wouldn't be Han Solo anymore. If he was a respectable general who was just like super, I love my wife and my family and I'm all about personal responsibility. It's not Han Solo. It's not fun Han Solo either. So gotta say, I think they started from the right place with Han. I think they did the right thing by having him be the one to go after Kylo and then die. That said, it's not. I think a big problem that with fans, especially the ones who are and by the way, I'm okay with being critical with the sequel trilogy. Like, just to be clear, Nikki, like I'm not like, oh, all is perfect, all was always well and stuff like that, or that people can't have their own like critiques of it. They totally can. I'm cool with that. but it's just like if everybody is perfect, if everybody gets to a spot and then stays there, there's no more story to like tell. There's just not. Like even Obi-Wan Kenobi now has implied growth and stuff like that through when you see where he is in the Kenobi series and then you see where he's at in A New Hope. You have to have some kind of change or there's nothing happening is my point. So if you want Han Solo on the adventure, then how do you do it? Like Indiana Jones kind of has a similar problem. Like, how is Indiana Jones going to deal with Marion? Are they going to have Marion is she going to have died? But what do you do? Well, bye, Marion. I'm going off on an adventure. And then, so they're like it's sort of, I mean, you could obviously break your back to make it work, but it's more interesting when Han and Leia have a falling out because of it's hard to be married. It's hard. All of that stuff is hard to make work. But then when your son destroys the Jedi Order and goes, it tears the family apart. I think that is a strong storied idea. But so I don't think the story ideas, if we're just going up to The Force Awakens, is the problem. I think it has more to do with certain follow throughs, for me anyways. Yeah, I'm not saying that they should have been together. I just don't like it how they went about it. Yeah. My I kind of didn't get like how, like when they have their like reunion together, I felt like Abrams was like, I want to do this story thing, but I also want to delight audiences. So like, she's like, you got a new jacket and it's all, you changed your hair or whatever. They like do that whole thing. I think it should have looked like, if I was writing it, it would have looked like they were gonna like look at each other and she was gonna maybe have like the doe eyes for a second, because she really does feel that. It's Harrison Ford, makes her tingle down there. And Harrison Ford like comes up to her, and I think she should have fucking socked him. I think she should have done a pure Marion Ravenwood on him or something like that. Like they should have been a little bit more contentious, but Tyrant says gender politics in Star Wars. Pff, in my day, the brats were the sister, and you kissed her and liked it. Yeah, but that's the thing about war is a certain part of war is politics, and a certain part of the Andor story is political. It's inherently political, majorly political. So it would be funny or even weird if they drew a line there and said, "Oh no, we're not going to deal with class, or we're not going to deal with gender." Like I said, I think I explained why they're not going to deal with race, but I think class and gender would be something that would literally be issues of I think there'll probably be issues in most societies, unless you get into like a utopian or post-utopian society, like in Star Trek or something. So Roland feels like Nikki. Nikki says the biggest crime of the sequels is that JJ never put the big three together. Shanked Han Solo and showed Luke for 30 seconds. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I liked I liked all of the ideas that were there for them, like the general gist of it, Leia is running the resistance, who saw it coming and sounded the alarm. But the problem for me is that there should have been more turmoil between the actual leads. Like, for instance, Han Solo, maybe, he's dumb. Everybody knows he's dumb. Harrison Ford says he's dumb. He's dumb and we love him. Maybe he shouldn't have saw it coming. Maybe he shouldn't have wanted to go back to that life. And maybe she should have. And then maybe she should have started dealing with it. And it should have been one of the things that kind of separated them. And I wouldn't say tore them apart, but had them spending less time together. That kind of stuff, And like Luke Skywalker's thing, I am firmly, though, in the Luke Skywalker camp of what they did with him. That is what I would have done. Han and Leia, not so much. is it unfortunate that we didn't get all three of them together? I do. A part of me is like, yeah, but a part of me also doesn't. I don't think it would have been very good. Like it's just not. I don't know. It's like when I see like the old Star Trek movies when you have like a bunch of 60-year-olds like on the bridge together, like, oh, here we go again kind of thing. I don't know. It doesn't really work for me. And I think it would have been cool had Carrie not died if we had the ghost of Luke, Leia, and then the apparition of Han sort of come into the Kylo thing at the end there. Like, and that have been the moment. Might have been, but I'm talking about, like, I guess when analyzing the past in Star Wars, we can look at, I think I'm looking at it as here's the story and here's the idea, and then looking at the execution as a separate thing at the same time, Nikki says JJ has interesting ideas sometimes, but he can't develop any story. Laugh out loud. He just likes action and his mystery box crap. Yes, we are on the same page there. I think he's very good at like giving the big bang to open the picture and set that universe up and then give us like intrigue. The problem is and I think the mystery box concept onto itself is fine. Like Lindelof will use it and it's good. It's good, but you have to have the follow through. I think I like Lindelof more than most though. Like I would be for a Damon Lindelof Star Wars picture, something original from him. I think he oftentimes really hits the mark. And I think even when he doesn't, I usually respect the endeavor. And like with endless, ongoing, never-ending Star Wars that we are, like, let's be honest, Nikki, we will die and there will still be Star Wars coming out. We will never see it all, which sucks, but it's the truth. And with that in mind, I think that for me, like, I just want to respect the endeavor more than like cowardice. And that's the thing, is I felt like JJ episode 7 served a function, remind people why they like Star Wars after the prequels and give those people back. And then please everybody else. Like that was the general, like that was the assignment. And he did it. But after an episode 9, everything I was hearing during that production was kind of sounded like he was cowering. Then he goes out into the press and he's like, I'm doing the Star Wars I want, when in reality it was the exact opposite. Nikki, don't stop ranting. Don't ever change. Don't ever change. Keep going. And for the record, I love that me and Nikki don't see eye to eye, because otherwise, what would we have to say like to each other? Like, yeah, that's cool. Loved it. Me too. Loved it. I like not agreeing all the time. Nikki, the biggest crime, this is Tyrant, of the sequels is the complete way overreaction Rise of Skywalker was. Even if Lucasfilm agreed with the TFA backlash, then swerving to miss the cat just to hit a school bus equals bad. Yeah, I think so. Like what was funny was JJ doesn't like those fandom menace types. Not a big fan of it. Doesn't like it. Doesn't agree with that kind of stuff. But he was hoping to win it back. He was hoping just to like slam dunk and get everybody. And in the end, it was so middle of the road. I don't think anybody was super enthusiastic about it. Like whenever I watch the sequel trilogy, I'm a Last Jedi person. I think Brian Johnson is my favorite filmmaker who's made a recent Star Wars film, a post George Lucas Star Wars film. And I like what he did with that movie for the most part. I mean, nothing's perfect, but for the most part, I was on board with it. And then JJ though, don't know what he was thinking. But Nikki agreed. I did not like The Last Jedi at all. But if JJ would have followed through with what's set up, it would have at least made all three movies feel connected. Yeah, and that's sort of my thing, is if JJ had followed through, You may even ended it if took it to a place that you liked. You then would then probably like The Last Jedi. You'd be like, oh, I see why. And I gotta be honest with you, I think that the level that Rian Johnson writes at is just, I think he completely outclasses J.J. Abrams. And I don't think Abrams understood what those setups were. Or when he did, if he did understand it, he only took them to the most obvious place. And then throughout the majority of it, but I'm just going to bring back Palpatine. You know, when here's my thing. I want to explain this to a Nikki real quick, just so she kind of knows where I'm coming from with it. It's like Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie. Love Revenge of the Sith, and just a movie I can just watch like over and over. I don't think it's a perfect movie or anything like that, you know, but I could just watch it over and over. It's like I love it. And the big thing about that movie, when you like are existing in it and just watching it and like loving that universe, is you see like Anakin, and he's like the perfect Sith, right? Like everything about him is about to just like coalesce into what the Sith have always wanted. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's got the high ground, cuts off his arms and legs, and then that potential is just maimed. It never happens. And whenever I would watch that movie, I would oftentimes question, like, what would happen if he hadn't, you know, been disfigured and burned? Like, how would they have concluded the story? And you're like, a part of me is like, well, the love of a father and son, or love of a parent and child, would have ultimately come through some other way, right? That's what George Lucas is saying. So I respect that, and I would take that as being that eventuality for how Lucas saw his characters. So, but what happens when he's not maimed, when he's not in the suit? And I love that Ryan took the suit off of Kylo Ren, and then made him supreme chancellor or supreme leader of the whole galaxy of the First Order. And so when he does that, it's like, wow, like where is this going to go? And that was like the first time I felt like, fuck, I don't know. I can't imagine what's going to happen in the next Star Wars. You know, like what is it going to be? And I found that like inspiring. I was very excited about that, about the future of Star Wars in those moments. And then they just brought back Palpatine and did not. I think that's what Ryan was doing. I think Ryan was sort of like being like, you know, putting out what if Hayden Christensen's Anakin had not been destroyed and rose to power? What would he have done, and how would it have gone? And that's more of what they did with Kylo. And then and then they just didn't really see it through very far. And I also feel like in the J.J. Abrams version of Episode 9, like the dyad stuff, I like it. It's interesting. But if you were going to do the love story thing, that like it had like one toe in, it should have went all the way. Should have went further, or not at all. Platonic or more. But where it went was, I don't know, less than romantic to me at times. So yeah. Tyrant says, I care less about all three of them being together and more about how much focusing on legacy characters killed any chance they had on building momentum for the new character arcs. That's ultimately, I knew that going into the sequel trilogy, that there was some things were going to suffer because of the past. If you didn't just go completely forward, 100 years. And if you once I knew that Han, Luke, and Leia were back, that's when I knew it was like, it's not really going to be so clean. But it would have been fine if it wasn't a trilogy, right? Because then you could have had like your Luke Skywalker movie and Rey being there with them, and then we could have kind of transitioned and grew those character arcs over films. So that's why I think the trilogy needs to go. Will says, JJ JJ also seems to get bored rather easily. Yeah. I think that's an attribute that might serve him well at times. It might, when something really is boring, I think it's something that where things get cut, things get moved around, things get changed until they're not. But it seems to be a problem when things are complicated. Episode 9, Star Trek 2. Nikki says Disney needs to stop making content with existing characters and make new legacy ones, new trilogy, etc. Go back to making movies. Yes, 100% agree with you there. Because then we don't have any baggage. We don't have anything that what should be and what shouldn't be. Like everybody seems to really respect Rogue One in the big picture now. And honestly, I'll be honest, like Rogue One was the first of the new movies to like tire me out real quick though. But it's such a downer and stuff like that. Like I think that has more to do with it. And the fact that it felt like everything was shut down. Like, oh, you like these like this blind guy, who uses the Force to fight stormtroopers. Oh, well, he's dead, Oh, you like this character, like K2SO? Oh, they're dead. Like there was not really anywhere to go with it. And so the fact that they did go back with Andor has me excited for it. But I would not be mad if they just went on and started telling completely new things. And Acolyte might be something where we kind of have that kind of vibe with it. Maybe. Hard to say though. I miss having an actual movie to look forward to. I feel you, Roland. I'm with you. Movies are coming though. There will be movies. Like it's going to happen. But I don't I think once we hit about 2025, we're probably going to be in movie town forever. But I think 2024 will probably be the start of it. 2023, I don't think it could happen unless it's like a December 2023 and it's a small scope. That's the only way I could see it happening. But they haven't officially canceled Rogue Squadron either, which is that just covering? I don't know what's going on there, or is it have they found a way to get it moving forward? But I haven't heard about any about it moving forward. Doesn't mean it's not though. Planet Fitness says The Last Jedi was a fun movie. Yeah, I think it's fun too. I think it's well shot, well written. Best of the sequels. That is my take as well. Nikki says it probably would have been more interesting seeing Kylo fell at being Supreme Leader. Yeah, well, like if I was doing it, I would have taken that Return of the Jedi path to some extent. The love will save you kind of concept that ended out the original trilogy. And what would have like there's the Emperor Ashoka, not Ashoka, and kind of stops being an asshole, if I understand that history correctly, and turns to the good side, if you will, after having been a tyrant. Not like our tyrant in the chat, a different kind of tyrant, bad kind. And so like what if that's and on one hand that's what it might that's what it would take, I think. And if you truly like want to end the Sith, if the Sith Lord changed what that meant and stopped being a Sith Lord, basically killed that philosophy, was the last one who lived, and there wasn't like some other secret apprentice hiding in the shadows, then that's one way of like completely ending it all, like and if Phantom Menace and all the battle droids shut down, what if Kylo in his own way had sort of shut down the First Order? Now, if you were to just go and say you're all fired, you'd have a bunch of warlords popping up, like Moff Gideon types all over, with Star Destroyers and Stormtroopers and stuff. But there might have been a way where they, there's the fight, and then he just calls it, and maybe to save Rey, or some other reason. You know what I mean? There could have been a powerful way of telling that story and getting to that place. I think I could imagine doing it, but yeah, and Hux, Hux would have been would have been the way of getting that some of that resistance to that, you know. It probably would have been more interesting seeing Kylo fail, yeah. And then that Planet Fitness thinks that would be boring. Yeah, well, him just being like, "Oh, I'm bad at this," sure, but him not being able to be Palpatine and then, you know, doing the right thing, I don't know. Like, you know, you could throw the Emperor down the shaft, you know, but sometimes there's other ways of doing it. It would have taken a really good catalyst to make that spark to really make it believable. But Nick, your review and explanation is rather. Let's be nice to Nikki, unless she's got it coming. I'm kidding, Nikki. Caden says JJ should have kept Colin's concept of an empty tomb. Kylo still travels to Exegol. I think he just finds nothing. Everything is abandoned. Yeah, look at my notes on that. They changed that. They kind of inverted that stuff a little bit. Caden says they would have had Luke Ghost Convo and a Rey confrontation. Kylo can still die. And then King Chris says they had to do something different with the characters for the story, but having them stray so far from their core character traits is what bugged me. Well, yeah, we're seeing them like at that's what's weird about like the real world history of that story is we're picking up with these characters like so long after. I mean, 83 to 2015. That's a lot of life to live and stuff. And I feel like though when it comes to like Luke, well, I don't know. Did they stray? I mean, Han Solo goes back to being himself. He goes back to his old ways. His same troubles, you know. He doesn't really, you know, necessarily his arc didn't necessarily wasn't really him learning how to be a swindler at all. That wasn't the arc. It was just trust. It was the Solo guy coming into the fold. And he's still doing that in the sequel trilogy. He's still building family and sort of searching for it. So I'd say the Solo is still the cowboy searching for family. And then Luke Skywalker, you know, the whole thing, people get really hard on him being the quitter. He was going to kill himself in Empire Strikes Back. Like the actual script, when you look at it, look at the actual like wording for it, he goes to die rather than join the dark side. And he feels he's defeated. His hand's been cut off and all that stuff. And he's like, I'll just die instead of becoming you. So that what I'm putting out there is that for him, suicide was on the table to do the right thing. And Luke kind of thinks he's doing the right thing. He has a good case against the Jedi at that point. But it's kind of weird that, you know, he just hangs out there. Supposedly, I guess in the backstory, he puts on the traditional robes now. It's kind of what they retconned. But they probably retconned this before the movie even came out. So I'm just going to go with it being the actual story. He was going to, you know, off himself. And he was putting on his traditional robes for that. And then that's when Rey shows up. Robert St. Clair says, Kylo and Anakin are not noticed by the same thing, though. Tyrant, are there things I can nitpick about The Last Jedi? Of course. I'd make a different subplot so we aren't the slowest space chase ever. I'd make the crate ship battle not anticlimactic. Some tweaks to give Finn, Poe, Phasma, Hux more texture to their characters. Not killing the casino, but making it better, giving Phasma a fucking point of being there. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I actually had a lot about like the Phasma stuff changed for some reason. I still don't understand why. It didn't change for the better either. I don't know why that happened that way. And I definitely probably would have I like the point of the casino, but the fact that like it bothers people so much is a little bit weird. But if it was like if we were, you know, if we had limited Star Wars, I would care more about that. But I thought it was ultimately fun for what it is. My big gripe about The Last Jedi is that the kids, Broom Boy, and those scenes, I think they're powerful moments, well written, but the way that the kids are directed and shot, it looks like a fucking McDonald's Christmas commercial from the 80s. Like, I expect them all to like look around the corner and then fucking Santa Claus to come out and put presents under a Christmas tree or something, just the way it looks. I just not a fan of the general look. Not blaming the kids for their acting, just more of how they were directed. So Planet Fitness says the biggest mistake is adding original characters. I don't know about that. I mean, I think original characters was a good idea. I think that the problem was the real estate for the original characters that was given to original trilogy. Oh, you mean the biggest mistake was adding Han, Luke, and Leia at all, and just not. Yeah, like Ghostbusters Afterlife, for instance, it's so good for 2/3 of that movie because they don't add the original characters, which is weird, but it's true. I mean, they missed the boat for Ghostbusters for a true Ghostbusters 3. But then the end of Ghostbusters Afterlife completely fucking sucks because the original characters show up and just take it all. They just take all of the real estate. And they're not really earned moments. They're earned moments from another film to me. Still like that movie a lot though. But yeah. So you guys get a room. Nikki, with all due respect, you should have better blah blah blah. I don't want to get into that. Wait, Nikki says The Last Jedi is the one I've rewatched the most. Is it for the Ben Solo fucking handball court shirtless scene? King Chris says, I did find the dynamic of Anakin and Kylo interesting. Anakin was dark, but trying hard to be light. Kylo was light, trying hard to be dark. Yeah. There's a lot of that. Like Kylo definitely, I think the end, like the whole thing with Luke, where he thinks Luke is trying to kill him, and that's what helps push him over to this manipulation that's been happening. I thought that was good, but it needed more. And then when we get to episode 9, I felt like a scene was missing about that. Like we get, I've been every voice you've ever heard in your head. And it's like, whoa, man, but there was definitely a scene there. There was definitely Kylo had something to say to him, and he had something to say back about what it meant, why it was important. I don't know why Kylo would even entertain him at that point, considering that he was like, I manipulated you. I fucking tricked you, bro. You're fucking dumb, dude. And he's like, oh, okay. Why would Palpatine think he was going to help him? Why, like that, a lot of that stuff, it just does not really make sense. So Ben Solo is way more of an interesting character to me than Kylo Ren. Plus, I really feel like Ben Solo could have carried the franchise moving forward, especially with a new trilogy. Yeah, it would have. A part of me thinks that they were going for this like big backstory full of intrigue, and in the end, it was a bunch of mystery, but it didn't amount to anything. So, if I could get my time machine and go back in time, I probably would tell them, you know what? You should probably make Rey and Finn end up with Ben Solo, and they're helping him get this map to get Luke Skywalker back. And then he falls to the dark side once he learns some awful truth. And then now Rey and Finn are like, what the fuck? And it's on them. That's probably what I would have. That's how I would have armchaired it if I could have done the last draft, and looking at what they didn't actually have, like they had all this implication of what this mystery was and stuff, but it just didn't live up to it. I still say Rey Nobody, way more powerful of a concept than Rey Palpatine. Michael Tennant says, how awesome would it have been if Anakin appeared to Kylo and implored him to reconsider his path? Yeah, I will say, not against that at all. I reported on the Force Ghost voices showing up, and who a bunch of them were that I knew had recorded lines. And when I did, everyone's like, no, the ghosts have to show up. And I'm like, they don't, as far as I know. They don't, and so there was like definitely like that thing where if you were going to go the fan service, there was a fan service lesson to be learned there. If you're going to go fan service, you got to fan service it. He tried to do the fan service without seeming like he was doing the fan service thing, and it didn't make anybody happy. But I would have put Anakin throughout it if you were going to go that way, though. That's what I think. I mean, but in the end, they were like, let's distance ourselves from the prequels. Let's keep distancing ourselves from the prequels, and then we'll pick up that ball later. And in reality, what they should have done was interwoven the prequels to elevate it, But once again, Star Wars is Force Awakens is a very conservative Star Wars film in terms of, testing the waters and trying new things. And it was really about making that splash in that very specific way, and I do enjoy the movie. The movie's really fun. It's a good Star Wars Disney movie for what it is. But Nikki says, honestly, I would have preferred the Duel of the Fates script. There are some dumb things in there for sure, but it follows up with The Last Jedi for me for the most part. Yeah, it does. It does follow up with the big thing for me on that one was the Finn arc was superior in every way. Like, I don't understand why JJ did what he did. Like, it's like he split it up. He's like, I want to make it Lando's daughter, and I want to have that be the thing. And then was like, oh, never mind, it's not Lando's daughter, and now it's not really Finn's arc either. We'll just make Finn a Jedi. It's all very confusing. And I'm okay with the concept of Finn having the Force and having it having been on the table for him, and then it being like, oh, that's where we're going next. Fucking great. I'm cool with that. I mean, it would be a little bit convoluted, but I mean, I think one of the original endings he had for 9 was Rey, Finn, and Poe are on Tatooine burying the sabers of Luke and Leia, and they were all going to look out at the twin suns. And I think it was sort of the implication that was the future of the Jedi right there. So, but was the sequel over a year? I thought it was 3 movies, 3 days. 7 and 8 are day 1 and day 2, basically. And then the third one is like a year out, I think, roughly. Shadow Ostrich. Thank you for being a channel member, Shadow Ostrich. And thank you to everybody for being a channel member who has won. I appreciate it. It's hard to stick with landing on a story, whether that's a book or a movie. When you start trying to create a trilogy with several different writers, it becomes confused and you end up with episode 9. Yeah. And that's ultimately, like, when you get down to it, why they need to not do trilogies. Because if they had just continued that story with those arcs wrapping up as they naturally needed to, as the story wanted it, that's the problem with episode 9, is it has to do all of these things, but it's not what the story wants. The story didn't want to do that yet. The story wasn't ready. And so yeah. And then Bestman Bulletin has the Knights of the Old Republic thing. Let me see if he has anything new, if he added anything new to it. He follows the gaming stuff way more thoroughly than I do. Recent comments from the Knights of the Old Republic remake publisher seems to confirm reports of the project moving forward, moving studios, no delay expected. And so I think it's basically what we already talked about. But if you want to read about it, Bestman Bulletin, it's a good place to go read about it. So when will Jedi Survivor release? So there's some new footage. I'm tired of waiting. There's that games thing happening pretty soon, like Disney Games event happening very soon. Probably then. D23-ish. I think that games event might be before D23 even. I'm not sure. I will go to D23 though and cover the shit out of it for you guys though. So don't worry. I'll make sure that we know everything from D23 this year. I promise. Darth Lopez says, my life revolves around Acolyte leaks. I need my grandpa, Darth Plagueis. Right? Yeah. Acolyte. Hopefully we get some more Acolyte stuff from old Ahsoka's. And then hopefully once we get to filming, me and Bespin can get some more stuff from that too. And we could confirm that that is in fact the direction that they're taking or have taken. Tyrant says Luke's defining moment in Return of the Jedi is him throwing his lightsaber down and refusing to fight either Vader or Palpatine, especially becoming a pacifist, something that neither Yoda nor Kenobi could foresee. So I'm with you there. And the pacifism thing is oftentimes been something I have looked at. But here's the thing. If we're just taking visual cues into account, I don't think Luke Skywalker necessarily becomes a pacifist. And the reason being is when you look at him at the end of Return of the Jedi, he did pick his lightsaber back up. He threw it down and he refused that fight, but he did take the lightsaber with him. It's on his belt. And so if he had gone true, just straight up pacifist, like hardcore all the way, I don't think he would have picked up his lightsaber. So yeah. So I don't think pacifism is exactly it. But when to fight and when not to is definitely something pretty big should be something pretty big with Luke Skywalker's Jedi Order. But what we saw in Mando's season 2 there, he just went straight Jedi at the end of the day. It looks like. Caden says, I thought Phasma was going to have an active camo and a Wampa Claw lightsaber. Yeah, that stuff was cool. I had that artwork first. Remember that Wampa Claw lightsaber. The one thing I don't know if it was ever really like, I don't know if they ever went into it at all, but the Captain Phasma stuff with the Wampa Claw lightsaber, that was for Kylo. Those were Kylo concepts then. They were making like Kylo like the main stormtrooper idea, and then she became Phasma after that. And another thing is I saw some other stuff for Phasma, and she was called Phasmo. Darth Lopez says, no comment on the sequels because it's all negative, but I have love for episode 7. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like kind of like, you know, when you watch Star Wars and that kind of stuff, you know, go full Rose Tico and just keep what you love. Johanna says, I always assumed Ahsoka and Ezra helped Luke build up his temple and train the younglings. Yeah, did it though? Who knows? Hey, Naruto, how's it going, dude? I posted new filming locations on Twitter. Oh, okay. In the future, DM me those when you get them. Let me go check it out right now. You're still like Naruto 2, right? Naruto 2 on Twitter, I think. Let's see. Or Naruto 1. So the original Naruto got banned. Naruto 2. All right, there. Oh, I got the follow back. Did we just become friends? Wait. Oh no, wait. This is I think this is the right one. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna throw this up on the screen right now. Is this an actual photo or is this concept stuff? I'm looking at my phone. It's kind of hard to see it. But let me know. And then I will I'm gonna go into my Twitter on my computer so I can pull it up easier. Sometimes I'm able to send stuff from the computer over to the Mac, or from the phone to the Mac on Twitter easy. Sometimes it's like, no, we're not going to allow you to share anything. We are idiots. But looks cool. Let's see. Computer's running a little bit slow. Apologize for that. All right, there we go. Naruto 1 is all right. Here we go. Ooh, it looks pretty. Let me share the old screen here. Wait, you know what? I'm gonna screenshot it and drop it in. I don't want a source like DMing me something during one of these shows or something, and then to be like, "Oh, so that's the source, huh? Oh, really?" You know, just to be safe. Always better to be safe than sorry, right? All right, there we go. All right, screenshotted it. Now I'll share it. There we go. It looks nice. There, so right there. Acolyte filming location. Ranuk Moore. Is that how you say that? Ranuk Moore. So once again, thank you for sharing and for alerting us to the fact that you are sharing. Always appreciated. And I gave your partner Ahsoka's a link to our Discord, by the way, too. And I said you could share it with you if you want it. Let me know. You're always welcome to hang out in our Discord. Without being a channel member, since you give so much, I appreciate it. But looks pretty cool. So, what planet do we think this is? Do we think this is Arya's? Is it Aura or Ara? I can't remember what it is. Do we think it's her home world? Is this where, or is this what they're using for Scipio? That is the big question. Is it Scipio or the other place? But yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. Hey, Manny, how's it going? So, and then King Chris, King Chris, if you're a channel member, when you go onto the part for YouTube channel members where I put postings up, you should see it. You should see a post, but I'll do another one with the current Discord link and put it up. So, but yeah, so Meg, it looks like most likely it would be, unless they're not going to use those snowy mountains in the background, and they're just going to use that terrain for the village, if you will. The planet of Olivia Munn sounds great. That sounds like the kind of place I would want to live. But well, it's pretty neat though. I mean, I gotta say, one of the coolest jobs in the world must be being a location scout for Star Wars films. Just getting to like look up weird exotic locations. There's a subreddit I used to follow. I stopped following because I kind of got bored with it, but I think it was called Earth Porn. It's not porn, but it's stuff like this. And I was just like, man, you go on Reddit's Earth Porn section for a couple of hours, and you're like, you'll find yourself a good 100 Star Wars locations. Dolly 2 just leaked. What do you mean? Like the software is everywhere to use it? Or am I not understanding a joke? Planet Fitness says making Star Wars. Thoughts on Zabrex making an appearance in Andor? I'd say it's possible. I mean, they made appearances in Kenobi. Haven't heard or seen anything though. So for what it's worth, in Andor, not yet. Oh, Jason, you dirty saucy skittle. Thanks, Meg. But yeah. Well, give me that leak, dude. I want it. King Chris is saying hi to Meg. But yeah, but once again, gotta say, I am loving, I was a little salty at the start of the show when I had to talk about Star Wars leaks, but I am loving the fact that our current Star Wars community is full of cool people. We got Meg and Ahsoka's and Naruto and Bespin, and everybody is egalitarian, so to speak. And I think that is important, because that when you have a community based around fandom and that kind of thing, or even if it's music or art or whatever, like, you have to have community. You can't just divide and conquer to the top. You can divide and make everybody's life hell. You can definitely do that, but it's not as prosperous and it's not as fun. And there's less fun, there's less money, there's less Star Wars. So I gotta say, I'm liking the future of online Star Wars for the first time in a very long time. Like a very long time, So Planet Fitness says we can have similar conversations in here. It makes the community very fun to be in. Yeah, I agree. Like, for me, like the Align would be like somebody was just like, overtly racist or sexist. If somebody's funny and making jokes, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? And then if people have bad ideas and good ideas, That's fine because they're your ideas. You know what I mean? Like I'm down to listen, hear them, and to discuss them, as long as, you know, people understand when I give my take on my show, it's not like a slight against them, because there's a lot of that in this world too. It's really strange. Like, I don't know, if I watch somebody's show, I usually watch their show because I want to hear what they have to say, even if I disagree with them. But Nikki says, not me, I'm always ready to fight. Watch out for my new channel soon. Laugh out loud. Yeah, you should do that, Nikki. I would watch your channel, you know. And if you ever want somebody to beat up, I'll come on your show and let you beat me up. You know, that sounds like I'm about to pay you to beat me. That's not what I mean. But I would definitely. Oh, bye, Naruto. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for bringing in the info. And yeah, but so if you me and Meg, can me and Meg come on your show? Do it. What's it going to be called though? You know, like. We need a good name. You need a good name. I'm going to be doing a channel with a friend, weekly streams and stuff, end of month. Oh, that's cool. Do it. Just, you know, just don't make it like Jason Warden, why he sucks. If you do that, then I probably won't watch the show anymore. Maybe I'm going to use this as practice, and if I like it, I will do my own. That's cool. Yeah, and I mean, and Nikki, if you ever want to come on the show, you are more than welcome. You know, you ever want to come hang out with me and Meg, and you know, share your thoughts and disagree with each other, you're always welcome. So just consider it an open invite. But just know that I will piss you off because you will disagree with me. It will happen. But I'm looking forward to seeing your show, and let us know when you launch it. Star Wars Mix says, if you think Knights of Melvin had Lucasfilm scared, wait until Nikki shows up in that full Sith armor. Yeah. Was it Melvin who was calling Andor Pandor? For God's sake, whoever was calling it Pandor, that's pretty fucking funny though. I disagree, but I think it's funny. You know, that could happen. They will never see it coming. And in boob armor too. Oh no, boob armor. I say cut the holes out. Don't armor the boobs. You know what I mean? Just let the boobs out. That's just my take on boobs and armor though. Roland says Meg, and then he shows white blood coming from his eyeballs. What planet are you from, friend? Mr. Lopez says, I occasionally appear on Tales from the Dark Side on Renovision. Very positive content. You know what my thing is, Mr. Lopez, and even Nikki. Like, I think it's I'm okay with negative content when it's sincere, but also like there comes a point, like, let's take it out of Star Wars. If like you didn't like the last Ghostbusters movie and your podcast is about the Ghostbusters movie, maybe you're not a fan of that and you shouldn't do a podcast on it. Like it's like that's kind of like where I tend to fall. Like, I don't understand the because then it's just a grift, right? If you're just doing something negative continually to make money about something that you don't enjoy, it quickly goes that way. King Chris, I will put the new one in right after the show, or something today. I'll do it, I promise. Left the mess like in Mean Girls where they cut holes in the shirt. Oh no! So are you gonna say I can't make Ray Palpatine happen? Is that where this is gonna go? And then Kaden says, don't forget to mention the exclusive Patreon content. Honestly, I'm not going to mention exclusive Patreon content because I don't make enough. The best way to support the channel is here. And I am okay though with doing I will make Patreon content as it grows. But at the current state of things, the doing things on this channel is kind of where I'm at. So, but we should get together and do some Patreon content. I would not mind. Always a good chance to hang out too. Nikki says, I try to make my negative content funny at least. People get triggered at me, but I'm just really sarcastic. Yeah, I've never thought you were an asshole or anything like that. I've always thought you were funny or sharing your point of view and sort of like pushing buttons for fun. But I never thought you were a dick. I don't think you have to be. Stars makes sense. Yeah, I really enjoy creators I disagree with if they're funny and sincere. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly like that's one thing too is like when you see creators, like this is where I get like a little bit critical of the negative side of things. Like you could be super negative, but like, do they ever have episodes where they just like where they kind of like talk about like that moment that they love and other things, and not just in opposition, not using it as like as a puppet to be like, oh well, Anakin and Revenge of the Sith, so therefore everything else is shit, and here's why it's shit, and it's shit, and it's shit, and shit. It's like you could tell when somebody loves something when there's like an enthusiasm there. And for the record, I don't doubt Nikki's enthusiasm because I always see her in these Star Wars chats, Star Wars Santas and stuff like that. So I don't think she would be there if she wasn't sincerely enthusiastic. And looking forward to your show, Nikki. Planet Fitness says, I tend to watch people with reasonable opinions and not start up make believe stuff. Yeah, that's the way to be, I think. Because like, and it's just like anything. I mean, you don't want to put like all of your stuff into like a person. Like you don't want to build somebody up on the old YouTube machine. Like, oh, they are just so good and everything about them is good. I've known everybody for the most part involved in this, and some of the most popular people are some of the worst. Some of the most positive people are truly some of the most horrible people. Just dog shit people, and just completely are as grifty as the griftiest of the grifters. On the positive side of things, it happens. It's a real thing, You don't become an editor, at Nerdist being anything but. That said, I do like it when it's like, normal people, like, here's my thing, and what else I hate is like when people like get their thing and then it's like lean into it, like, oh god, I'm the Togruta guy. Oh, ongoing Togruta jokes. I'm the Togruta guy. It's just like, oh god. Actually, I wasn't thinking about Steel at all in that right there. Steel is just obviously who he is, to be honest with you. Like if you know what I mean? Like if you would watch Steel and think, oh, that guy is easy to get along with and is not a pain in the ass, like you'd be living on another planet. I think he's pretty much is what he is. Ultimately, though, he was willing to throw me under the bus for his t-shirt sales, so that really was pretty heartbreaking, to be honest with you. And he knows that that shit was not what it was, but fuck. Well, hey man, I mean, you're joking, but yeah, I mean, I got nothing to hide. I'll say the I'll talk about the truth and what is. So Star Wars Make says Jason seems like he needs a beer to unleash some of the feelings he's using the Force to hold back. And this is what happens when I don't have Rob to distract me. I'm just like, oh, let's go. But I think Rob might be back tomorrow if his coolant comes. I don't know. Just put some antifreeze on the computer, Rob. That's what I say. But it's probably good for Rob to recharge his batteries every now and then. I'm a pretty taxing person. But well, if anything big happens in the Star Wars universe, I'll definitely come back on and cover it. I'm gonna get some lunch really quickly here, and I got to help my friend Bestman Bulletin do his Dragon Ball Z quest in Fortnite. Yeah. Because I mean, he needs to get his power level up, you guys. I got to be honest with you guys. I don't see how there's going to be any scoops from Bestman Bulletin at that current power level. So hopefully we can get his power level all the way up today. And he could, oh yeah. And me and Bestman Bulletin are starting a Star Wars. What the fuck am I talking about? Me and Bestman Bulletin are starting a Dragon Ball Z podcast, and it's called I'm Just Super Saiyan. Okay, maybe not. But Jason, get us some Skeleton Crew scoops. I'm working on it. I'm trying not to overfish that pond. I did a lot of fishing early in the year. A lot of stuff. I'm trying not to overdo it because you know, they do make those little maps with yarn on it and stuff, showing how all the connections work. So we got to be careful a little bit here. But I'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If Rob's not back, I'll just probably be on earlier, maybe even just whenever I feel like it. But probably 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And thank you to everybody for being a channel member, liking the video, watching this far, and all that jazz. If you're watching this on the playthrough, got a comment, leave one. I'll definitely try to address it. I try to get to all of the comments within about a couple of days. And thanks to everybody who supports the channel and all that jazz. Look for Nicky Nick's new show coming out. It's gonna probably scare me, but I'm not scared. I'll watch it. And we'll be back tomorrow. And everyone have a good day. Be cool, stay in school, and all that jazz. Bye.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go. It's not about spaceships.